Hey there, winners. Welcome back. We're continuing our best of series with today's top episodes in the best of our guest interviews. Now, when the podcast launched in 2015, it was the #1 podcast then for pageantry, and it remains that today. And so we looked back at all of our episodes to the ones that were listened the most. So thousands of times and millions of views on Facebook. So we know these really are the best. So in the best of guest interviews, you're going to hear from Luciana in episode 129, from Dani Walker in episode 115, from Rachael Todd in episode 131, and Tori Kruse in episode 158. Now, if you want to listen to the entire episode of each of these, which I highly recommend that you do, you can quickly find them at winapageant.com/ and then just enter the episode number. So to rewatch Luciana's, you're going to go to winapageant.com/129. And that's going to take you directly to her episode. Now, I hope that you enjoy this best of series and that it really does direct you on what to listen to next. Enjoy. Luciana is a supermodel and runway coach. She works with individual pageant contestants, and she goes to the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants in order to work with all of the contestants as a whole to prepare them before they step out onto that stage. And, you know, she shares in her story from the very beginning that her real gift is helping you to create an individual walk for just you so that you're not just like a cookie cutter of everybody else. It's really, really epic the way that she is able to teach and train women to move and step into their own power. So she gets into that in this episode. And another thing you're going to learn this episode is the difference between a pageant walk and a runway walk, and how to really understand those separately so that when you step onto a pageant stage, you're able to sell yourself in a different way than you would as a runway model. Welcome to the show, Lou. It is such a pleasure having you here.
Happy to be here.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
Oh, it's so fun. So what is the difference between, if any, a runway style walk and a pageant walk?
The difference is, in a pageant, you're selling yourself. On a runway, I'm selling a garment. I dare not sell myself. Mm-hmm. Nothing about me should be on that runway. It's all about the garment. Mm. How do I make the garment look best? A model is a salesperson. That's why very often pageant girls say, why can't I model? And I'm like, because you can't sell. Models have nothing to do with being beautiful. If I showed you some models during Fashion Week just walking down the street with no makeup, you wouldn't believe me. Yeah. But when they get on the stage, they sell the garment. Yeah. So the walk per se may not be different. Your walk is your walk. If a girl has larger hips, she should take shorter steps, because when you open your step, your hip moves more. If you have more like a boy body, you should take longer steps, because when they open, your hips are going to move more. Yeah. So your walk is your walk. Yeah. That shouldn't change. And every girl doesn't have the same walk. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to runway and pageantry, you sell you. To achieve your flirt, you should not be thinking anything sexy. Mm-hmm. You should not be thinking about a man. You should not be thinking about anything like that. You should be thinking power. How your thoughts should be saying, I am your winner. Mm-hmm. Conceit says I'm the best in this room, but high self-esteem says no one deserves it more. Mm-hmm. And I'm winning this for all the girls that no one thought could ever win. That's who I'm winning it for. Now, judges, I'm going to need you to get this right and make me Miss USA, because I'm going to Miss Universe. And let's not share the one job the other girls have here, because their only job is to give me time to change clothes. I am your.
That's what you Oh my gosh, I so love that.
You must be saying the entire time you walk. Yes. You can't be saying, I hate my thighs. I hate my thighs. Why did I choose this dress? Oh my God, look at her dress. Look, why is she in front of me? She's like 6 feet tall. She's a model. Oh my God, the girl in front of me has done the pageant 5 times. Oh my God, why is she? You can't be thinking that.
Totally, yeah.
Because honestly, You're asking strangers to think more of you than you think of yourself. My
Yeah.
girls, long before they get on stage, all they're doing is standing in line, doing every turn they're going to do on stage, and they're talking out loud. Lou, when you get on stage, do a slimming pose. Judges, 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 judges. Walk. We're going to go from a flirt face and swimsuit to our number one smile. We get to the end, we're going to do a bang, bang, bang. When we do the bang, 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 let our face change. We're going to come back. We're going to end legs open, turn around, half turn. Slow your breathing down. Let's do it again. Lou, when you come out, we're going to be in a slimming pose. That's what my girls are doing. So they've done it 10 times before they ever get on the stage.
Dani has been involved in many different pageant systems throughout the US over her pageant career, but she is most famous for starting the YouTube channel called Pageant Access. Her YouTube videos are incredible. She does vlogs and just direct-to-camera trainings, and they're really all about empowering women, mostly on stage and in the land of pageantry. So in this episode, she's going to share with you 5 very specific tips on how you can actually improve your pageant walk almost immediately.
So no matter what a girl's age is or age division, I know that a lot of girls, they do watch my walk on Instagram and YouTube, and they're asking me, how do I get your walk? Well, the thing is, everybody's walk is different. It's like your signature. It's like your fingerprint. So I do not encourage you to try to walk exactly like another girl. You're never going to walk exactly like another girl. You're never going to, your turns and your poses aren't going to be exactly like her, because that's what makes her look good. And you got to go with what works for you. So that's first and foremost what I try to encourage girls to do, is just start embracing, first of all, what makes you you. And that's my first point, and it's confidence. And I know that that's a term we hear a lot in pageants, confidence, and girls are wondering, well, what is it? How do I develop it? And I would think, for me, what's resonated is a love of myself and being able to embrace who I am, who God made me to be, and saying that that's okay, that I am more than enough. Posture. Oh boy.
Amen,
I
sister.
know. It's such an obvious thing, but what I see a lot of the times is that girls, they don't prepare right before they walk on stage, so they're just so focused in that moment and being nervous that they just run out on stage. And I encourage everybody that before you walk on, give yourself a checklist. Make sure that you're where you should be mentally, but that your posture is there as well. So you want to make sure that you're standing up straight and tall. And here's one thing that drives me nuts on stage. I call it the turtle, and I'll show you from the side. So it's when girls have a lot of tension in their shoulders, they're really squeezing them back. It causes your head to protrude forward, and you look like a little turtle on stage, and it looks kind of funny and it looks silly. But I personally, as a judge, it drives me nuts, and I see a lot of judges talking about that. So, don't let your head protrude forward. You want to make sure that your body is fully aligned when you're standing. And in addition to that, tension. Tension is really big. I can tell if a girl's really nervous when her shoulders start to squeeze in a lot towards her body or pull back too far. So yes, place your shoulders in a place that's going to be comfortable for you, but always be aware when you're on stage and going like, okay, wait, are they tense? Because I don't know if you've ever experienced that in a moment when your body tenses up and you're like, wait, what am I doing? And then you can feel that relaxation. So relaxation is very important for your posture before you walk on stage. And I always actively check my posture on stage whenever I'm competing. If I'm standing still in a lineup for a long time, I ask myself, wait a second, are we tense? And then I take a second to breathe and loosen up. And I think that is a huge factor in letting the judges know if you feel confident, if you feel good about yourself on stage, or if you're really nervous and you need a little bit more practice. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple things I talk to girls a lot about with arms, and it's just this. Like, your arms know what they want to do. They already know how to move. It's instinct. So it's like when we run and our arms are up. Whenever we're, pacing and walking really fast, our arms are a little bit lower, but they're swinging more. So your arms should move in reaction to your body. So in formal wearing and gown, your arms aren't going to move quite as much as they would in a swimsuit competition or casual wear, whatever it is. It's something that's going to be more upbeat. So let your arms do what they naturally do. What I've noticed is a lot of girls start to, and I don't know where they get it from, pick up things that are unnatural for arms to do. Sometimes girls will walk with like the same arm and the same leg,
Yeah.
it always
so
amazes,
weird, right?
it amazes me, and I'm like, how did that happen? Or I see girls do this weird like glitzy arm thing where they move their arms around, or they're very purposefully, they're like a robot, they're very like slowly and deliberately moving. That's weird for judges. I personally see it as a girl who's like not quite comfortable on stage. I want the girl that's the most relaxed. So my biggest really piece of advice in terms of arms and hands, watch the hands, because I see a lot of girls like grabbing their dresses, making fists. Their hands are like this on stage, or like weird claw hands. Couple of things for arms would just be, make sure your fingertips are always brushing the side of your gown or your body. If you have a ball gown on, your arms are going to be out a little bit more. They can't be touching your sides. But make sure fingertips are always brushing. Make sure hands are relaxed. I like to think of it actually as dead arms. And it sounds kind of funny, and girls ask me a lot about how I get my arms to look a certain way. And it's about me thinking about relieving all tension from them and worrying about moving them less. Eye contact is so important. It couldn't be more important. I know a lot of people are afraid at looking at judges in the eyes, but I took this tip from Nia Sanchez that I heard from her, and I really liked it. Obviously, she won Miss USA. That's somebody that, I could take her advice. She talked about meaningful eye contact, where she actually didn't focus, between the judges' eyes, which a lot of people say, or over the judges' heads. She focused on remembering the color of every judge's eyes. And I said, that's so different, it's so neat, and that's true, because when you have this in-depth conversation with somebody, you're giving them your full attention, you're giving them that really great eye contact. I always plan out my eye contact before I compete, so I don't like to leave things up to chance, and when I'm practicing, I emphasize, who am I going to be looking at when I'm posing here? Who am I going to be looking at when I am walking forward? You don't have to stare at the judges the entire time. In fact, it's usually kind of scary. So I like to think of the audience, and if there's a camera at your pageant, the camera as your other judges. So if you're going to be looking at all the judges on stage, also give a quick look to the camera, give a look to the audience. Like I mentioned in the beginning, everybody's walk is going to be different. When I work with the girls, I don't try to make everybody into a pageant patty robot or my army of pageant dolls, because everybody's a little bit different.
That's a good one, the army of pageant dolls. I've never heard that one before.
Oh,
like that.
Yes, the pageant patties. Yeah,
Yes.
I see them. I see them. But so when I talk about shoes with girls, I know everybody wants to wear the tippy top heels, or everybody wants to wear these platform heels. Unfortunately, not all of us have the arch in our foot that's ready to wear those. And if you want to wear those and walk well in them, then you have to work on stretching out the arch of your foot so then you're comfortable enough to walk in them. And something that Luciana said really struck me. She's the Miss Universe and Miss USA walking coach. And she's like, I have never met a judge who looked at a girl on stage and said, oh, she's wearing the tippy tops, I'm going to pick her. And it's so true. And you've never also had a judge who's like, oh no, she's only wearing a 3-inch heel, not going to pick her. That never happens. It's not something that I consider. You're not going to win or lose a pageant really based off of your shoe. It's just not going to happen. There's a whole lot more going on that goes into that decision-making process than the shoe. So a really good rule of thumb is this, to decide if a shoe is appropriate for you and for your foot at the moment, and which is important for younger to older contestants, is when you put the shoe on, you should be able to stand in your tippy toes on the shoe, okay? And look in the mirror when you do this, or when you're at the shoe store. If there is an inch or more of space between the bottom of that high heel and the ground, then your arch is ready to walk in those shoes. Your arch is high enough. Now, if there's less than an inch of space and you can't get off the ball of your foot, then that heel is too high for you at the moment, and it will really affect the way that you walk in that shoe. So finding a shoe that's right for you, obviously that fits your gown length as well, or your wardrobe length is very, very important, and it's going to affect how you walk. And I urge a lot of girls who meet with me wearing their tippy top heels to actually lower the heel, because it's going to greatly improve their walk on stage.
Rachael, welcome to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm happy to have you on.
Thank you. I'm so excited we were finally able to make this happen.
Yes, absolutely. I know your schedule is like a total whirlwind. I can't wait to talk all about it. But for people who do not know you or your title, would you just share a little bit about your background and your background in pageantry and what you are up to this year?
Absolutely. So my current title is Miss United States 2017, and I competed on July 8th in Orlando, Florida, and I was successful at claiming the title. So it has been about 3 months now that I've had the title. And my background in pageantry started actually in college. I was 20 years old, attending the University of Central Florida, and I saw a poster for Miss UCF. And to be completely transparent, that was my end goal. I thought, why don't I just be the queen of my school? I never had a date to homecoming or prom, and I thought, if I could be the queen of UCF, that would be like the ultimate, like, cherry on top. I was so embarrassed to go to all those dances when I was growing up, and that was my dream, was to be Miss UCF. And I had no idea that that would lead me to winning the title of Miss Florida within the Miss America organization, then competing for the title of Miss America in 2010. And then I went and did graduate studies and did some self-taught research and some traveling, and it's been wonderful. So I kind of took a little break from pageantry being on stage and then popped back up this year, and here we are.
Yeah.
Some questions that you can ask yourself in a journal. Why am I competing for this title? What am I doing here? Like, if I have that thing placed on my head that night, when it comes off every other day of the year, because I'm not wearing it every day, who am I and why am I doing this? What will this microphone enable me to do? Because that's really what we're competing for, is the attention and the spotlight that goes onto that microphone that gets placed in your hand.
So I love the idea of journal. It's so simple to have that journal, and it's kind of like having a conversation with yourself from a different perspective, to just journal your thoughts of gratitude. And I think as we do that, the real lesson is not in the fact that you just sit down and do it, but it's the transformation that happens within your spirit when you are engaging in those types of things. You become more grateful. You become more humble. You start to notice around you the things that are going really well, and people are attracted to that positivity. And then I loved your questions about what the heck am I doing here? And what am I doing with this title? And just the way that you say it in that way, because so often we think of it as, oh, well, if the judge asks me, why do I want to win? Then I'm going to say, and it turns into this like super robotic and like crazy answer. But the way that you're describing it, it's really about like, get real with yourself. Really, what are you doing here? What really do you want? And you don't have to make it some pageant-y answer, but just get really real. And then, and I know in working with my clients, when they do that exercise and they do get really real, we find the gold in that makes them perfect for the title. And it's
and that's when we get the goosebump moments that I just had with you just now, and that's what those judges are waiting to feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned that you have some book recommendations that I loved. Could you share some of your top favorites?
So right before I won Miss Florida, I mentioned I was going through a lot of personal things, and I found this book called 1 Month to Live by, I want to say it was Carrie Shook and his wife. It's a pastor, it's a husband and wife pastor. And 1 Month to Live is this 30-day study of yourself. So this kind of relates back to our first point of really just digging in and turning the spotlight around on yourself and just saying like, all right, I know that I want to be on stage under a spotlight, but really like, what do I see when I shine the spotlight in the privacy of my own home? And this book just asks these like questions that cause you to be like, oh my gosh, why am I not living my life like this every single day? Because it poses the question that you're going to die in a month. So who would you call to apologize to? Who would you forgive? How would you be living your life? What would you wake up in the morning and do? Because you have 30 days. And it just does a really good job of kind of like punching you in the face and being like, wake
up.
I've never heard of this one before. I'm gonna have to get this. You ladies know that you ain't getting nowhere if your mindset is all messed up, right? And so many of us are really good and strong and we feel great when we're all by ourselves, but then all of a sudden we get into the pageant environment and we get in our heads, right? So I have a guest for you today that is going to try to really get rid of all that negative stuff and help you think from a positive winner's mindset. Tori, welcome to the Virtual Pageant Summit.
Hello. How is everyone today? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so honored that you chose me as the mindset coach for this virtual summit. One thing that I read that really I would highly recommend for all of you is The Secret. I don't know if you've read it or not, but I listened to the Audible because it is a little bit different, the wording and everything. It's not like your typical book, but I read The Secret, and it's all about the law of attraction for those of you who aren't familiar with it. And I just absolutely loved it. It got my mindset in the right spot. I also read Wake Up Happy by Michael Strahan, and his book is awesome. So those are a couple of books that really I started out reading right away. And I also started writing down gratitudes. So that's one thing that I really want to talk to you guys about right now is you have to get your mind in a state of gratitude every single day. And first thing when you wake up, put your feet on the ground and say thank you. And go through your head and just say thank you and just count your blessings. And I was actually doing a YouTube interview yesterday for my channel, and my guest, he was like, I wake up and he's like, I thank God for my arms, my legs, my brain, my voice because we speak. And it was just like, it was really cool. And it totally, that's exactly what I've done. I put my feet on the ground. First thing I say in the morning is thank you. And then every single step I say thank you until I forget. but then I, go make my morning coffee, and then I sit down and I write down my gratitudes. And right now, more than ever, ladies, gratitude is so huge because we have a lot of these negative external sources, the news that's coming at us. And yes, it is extremely important to know what's going on right now, but watch it only for a limited time because you need to have positive external sources coming in your ears at all times. So back to gratitude, I normally write down 5 gratitudes a day, but during these times, and I may just continue, I write down 10. I mean, double up, write as many as you want, but I right now am writing 10 gratitudes a day. If you want to do 5 in the morning, 5 at night, like that's kind of a fun way to do it too. Who you surround yourself with is more important than you know. I know everybody's probably heard the saying already, but you become like the 5 people that you spend your most time with. And it's so true. It truly, truly is. And I remember when I was living in St. Louis, I just moved down there. And I wasn't that, I didn't really know too many people yet. And I just started, competing in Miss Missouri again. I wasn't like really in depth yet. And I had this group of friends and they were great. They're awesome people, but their goals weren't where my goals were. They weren't aligned. Their decision makings on the weekend wasn't what was going to lead me to become Miss Missouri USA. And I hung out with them every single weekend. Like, we had a great time, great memories. But then once I decided, like, okay, I can't be living these 2 lives, I decided, you know what? I can't. I was put in a really bad situation with that group of friends. And I lost friends because I called them up the next day after, on that Sunday after hanging out with them on Saturday night. And I said, you know what? My goal is to become Miss Missouri USA. And they knew that. And I said, and I was put in a situation that was unsafe, and I was unaware of it. And I said, true friends don't do that to true friends. And you know what? I think you're a great person, but our goals and our mission in life right now especially is not aligning. And I know how bad I want to go to Miss USA and compete at Miss USA because it's going to lead me to now being an entrepreneur. But sometimes, my point in telling you this story is sometimes you have to break up with your friends. And if they're not on the same level as you, as far as your vision and your goals, and I'm talking about relationships too, if they're not there, and I went through it with relationships, let me tell you, that's a whole other podcast. But it's so true. Like, you have to align yourself with the right people and have the right people in your circle to get to to build an empire. If that's what you want to do, is build an empire, in Elena Cardone's terms, then you need to surround yourself with a support system that doesn't doubt you, that always supports you, and only speaks positivity into your life and will never, ever, ever put you down for how big your goals and your dreams are.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Win a Pageant podcast. Such a pleasure meeting with you every Wednesday. And I will see you on the next Win a Pageant Wednesday.